Good evening and welcome to the Brosis YouTube channel. This is the KCJC Sports Talk. I am your host, Kenwood Connell, and my co-host is
John GC Campbell, live and direct, Kingston, Jamaica. Yes,
Yeah, John,
sir.
I love that. I love that live and direct from Kingston, Jamaica. Yeah. How is it in Kingston,
Of
man?
course,
What's
of
going
course.
on in Kingston right now?
Well, the good thing is that we got rain today,
Mm-hmm.
so we are all happy that we got rain today. Yes, so that's a good sign. It's a sign of good things to come. We hope. But
Were
perhaps
you
more
guys
importantly,
experiencing a dry spell?
this boys'
Uh-huh.
champs. Yeah, this is a kind of dry. Yes, of course. Kingston is notorious for dry spells.
Okay. Okay.
And that would have started, January, February, March coming up. May
Mm-hmm.
usually bring some rain thereabouts, so I guess this is the time. So I guess this is the season for a little rain. So we keep our fingers
Okay.
crossed that the rains will indeed come.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
man. Yes, sir. So there you go. But I
Yeah,
was
so
about to say
it's
to you
never
though. Go
it's
ahead.
never a dull moment in sports, ain't it? Especially
No,
during our during this COVID period. It's always challenges and excitement and
absolutely.
logistic and starting out and all of that. So we have a lot to talk about as it relates to sports.
Yeah.
So you was talking about boys championship, right?
No, yeah, well, I was just about to say that as you mentioned about the COVID issues, that's exactly what's creating havoc in the world of sport. And of course,
Yes.
boys and girls championship is also, experiencing a lot of challenges because of what's happening with the COVID-19 issues. But I'm sure you know that the
Mhm.
government has agreed with they have come to an agreement with ISA, the organizing body
Mhm.
of boys champs, to have boys
Right.
champs. They have agreed on the dates and
Mhm.
everything.
Okay.
But it's a case of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because whilst the
Right.
government is saying yes, all right, good, go ahead, we are hearing from other quarters that indeed was a careless decision on the part of government.
Mhm.
People are actually saying that. And the most prominent voice is actually from the Jamaica Parent Teachers Association.
Okay.
They're saying that they are concerned about the safety of the kids and by extension, the welfare of parents.
Mhm.
In spite of the prescribed protocols and so on, they are still saying that we should not have gone ahead with the boys and girls championships because of the dangers.
Okay.
So there you go. It's going to be quite of a challenge, as I say.
It's rightfully so because everybody's concerned because pretty much everywhere where there is sports right now, they're experiencing increase in the number of cases, and so I can understand. But so what's the word right now? Is it going to be held, or as far as what I
Yeah, well,
heard, they're supposed to have a scaled down version to boys and girls championship? Can you explain what it's supposed to be
right,
like?
right. So it's going to be held somewhere May 11th throughout the 15th or 16th thereabouts, and it's going to be somewhat an amended format of boys
Okay.
champs. So they won't have like the usual 2, 3, 4 heats before a finals.
Mhm.
The plan now is to have just perhaps a semi-final and final. In
Okay.
many cases, it will be just a straight final. So what they're going to focus on they're going to focus on the athletes, the class one athletes, who are gearing up to leave school. Not only just to leave school, but many of those would have gained scholarships to universities overseas.
Right.
And it's through their participation and their performance in
Hmm.
boys' champs. This is what will have allowed them to to gain the scholarships. As you well know, scouts, a lot of scouts from various universities will be here to take a peek. And if the boys and girls are impressive enough, then they are usually offered scholarships. So it's out of concern for that why I think they're going to just have just class one athletes to participate in this champs. So that's basically what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, because I've been there. I come to Boys and Girls Championship every year, and you'll be it's be amazed to see the number of scouts from all over United States of America
Yeah,
that is scouting or athletes, and I'm sure that they were wondering what we're going to put in place in order to accommodate that this year, of course. So I mean, they have
yes,
to come up with something, but they have to come up with they have to make sure first of all that it's safe. Safety is
yeah,
the number one priority,
yeah,
and so we knew that no matter what happened, there were going to be some who are against it and some for it. But I
yeah,
think first of all, they have to take into consideration the health and safety first, and then next the interest of the athletes. So it's two sided, and hopefully that they can look on what they've done before, because they have held a couple of meets that were held safe once all the protocols were followed. So hopefully they're going to be able to do the same and copy that same or that
yeah,
same blueprint and make it very successful. I wish the athletes the best, and I hope that this is going to be a success and that it will benefit them in the
right.
ways intended to benefit them.
The other concern heard by coaches as well, and some of the medical professionals, the sports medicine professionals, is the potential for injury of the athletes. I remember we have been saying on this program that we were very concerned about the level of preparedness of not just the track and field athletes, but even with the reggae boys, and more
Mhm.
recently the basketballers, because of the haphazard nature of their preparation, because of the COVID issues. They have not been able to train consistently, not just training now, but compete. Because you well know, as you're a coach, that you will train, but if you don't compete and try to express what you have done in training, then it's as if you haven't really, completed your training cycle.
Right.
So we have not been having a lot of competitions. And here comes champs now, which is going to decide your future as an athlete, and not just your athlete, but even your career. So you're going to want to give it your all. And those boys and girls, they'll give it their all. They'll give their guts out for winning. The Casey guys, all the athletes, not just Casey and JC and Calabar, but all of them will die for it, literally die for it. And so the concern is that they'll push themselves to the limit and incur injuries because of just the lack of complete preparedness. So that's a major concern right now. How do you address that? Well, as a coach, you probably could tell me more.
Yeah,
But
that's definitely should be taken into the equation, and I'm glad that somebody brought that up so that it can be
yeah,
addressed during coaching sessions and so forth. You and I know from your profession as a therapist that there is what we call in sports progression and overload. And if the athlete is not going through the right progression, and they get to that level whereby no, they didn't have a off season, they didn't have a preseason, and practically they didn't have an early season, but now they're in what peak season, right? Then of course
and worse,
it's opening up a
amazing
can
man.
of worms for injuries, and that just like you say again, when the adrenaline start flowing, especially in the sprints, and you're
Yes,
thinking about, I want to go to Baylor, I want to go to um, Florida State, or I want to go to Alabama, I want to go
yes,
to let's say Texas A&M. What are you
yes,
going to
yes,
do?
yes,
You're going to go out there and you're going to push yourself
yes,
beyond the
absolutely.
capability of your muscles because your muscles are not trained properly, and rightfully so. we have a lot of experts in Jamaica, and I know that they're putting on their thinking cap and realize that that is something that the coaches will need to address and they need to pay attention to. And that comes from what we call not only um, physical and tactical, but it also has to do with the mental now. How are you going to prepare them mentally now for such a situation? So no matter where you go nowadays in sports, it's a challenge. It's a huge challenge, and this is where the various areas of sports have to work together and come up with ideas that are workable and ideas that are safe. So here's where we can just sit back and do the normal coaching. We have to do some, critical thinking and some strategic planning in coaching. So we'll find out that it's bring the best out of some coaches.
Well, what I think though, and I've mentioned this before, is that we are going to be placed at a severe disadvantage when things should start to, the COVID thing should start to calm down and some level of normalcy would have returned. We're going to be at a disadvantage in every sport. And I've mentioned this before that, we can't afford the bubbles that people still train in and have competition in.
Exactly.
So so when this has blown over and we're back on the field of play, we're going to find that we're a little bit rusty around the edges there. And it's going to create a little problem for us. But we are Jamaicans. We are Jamaicans. we will bounce back. But speaking of that, since we're on athletics, because boys and girls champs is what it is. Since we're on athletics, and I'm sure you must have heard that the world relays, and we mentioned last week that we had selected a 30-member team, a 39-member team to travel to the world relays. Now we're hearing that Jamaica has withdrawn from the world relays. And of course, with that announcement has come a lot of speculations and criticisms as to why we have withdrawn.
But Don, I want to say something right here. When I heard last week that Jamaica selected a 39-member team, you remember what I said? I said that we're only going to embarrass ourselves. And then I didn't know. Afterward, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm not sure this is even going to happen. Thinking about the financial challenges that we are facing, even though that is not mentioned. It's not mentioned as one of the reasons why they're not going. But then more so, I was aware of what was going on in Europe as it relates to the coronavirus pandemic, and so they're not saying that is, I don't know if there's any report saying that that's one of the reasons why they're withdrawing the team, but I know that it should be one of the reasons because there is great concern as it relates to Warsaw, Poland. There is great concern because I read a report today which said that in Poland over the last, I think they said since April 5th, up to April the 18th, right? Over 7,091 people died from the disease, right? And there were over 249,483 cases. Now, I don't know if Jamaica want to be a part of that just for track and field. I don't know. If I was an athlete, I remember again, we stated last week that the call up was made by people who made their availability because the main athletes that we have in Jamaica said that they were not available. So I guess they were doing their homework and realized what was going on in Europe, especially in Poland, right? So they said that it was caused from a lot of traveling restrictions. That's what Jamaica said it was, and routing possibilities. And Elaine Thompson came out and said that while she's disappointed, she experienced that situation before, and it's very difficult, to get connecting flight, especially when you go so far into Europe. They say it's because of existing travel restrictions and routing possibilities. So it was, I don't know if there's any article that you saw that made mention that it might be because of safety issues also, or concern over the coronavirus, or if there was some financial challenges also.
It's all, I think it's all in one package. I think the concern was, what has been stated was that it was difficult to make the connections and to go to, given the COVID-19 issues. Some ports were closed, others were open. The connections were proving to be quite difficult. And I guess with that, when you have to circumvent and go all the way around one side to come back on the other side, it's going to create and cost more money, for sure. So I wouldn't be surprised if the issue of cost was there. That was mentioned, mind you. But I wouldn't be surprised if that were a part of the challenges as well. But I will tell you what has been said on the street, though, because we say different things. And the talk is that, as you rightly suggested, that it's a matter of being that the team wasn't good enough to represent Jamaica. This is what some people are saying, right. And it would have been an embarrassing situation for Jamaica had they sent send that team. But I think we could have still gone, because it would have been interesting to see. I never write off my Jamaican athletes, I never, because we have a little thing called grit, where sometimes in the least expected moment it comes out, So just out of curiosity, I would have loved to see Asafra again. I would love to see him one more time just to see what happens, because you'd be surprised, all these guys can pull off things. Mm-hmm. So I would have loved to see that. But I guess out of caution, and so on, we have pulled out of those games, and we're not going to be. The other thing is, though, Jamaica won't be in it. And I gather that the USA
won't be in it either, and Australia won't be in it either.
So therefore, when you add it all up, what is left of these world relays? It's going to be a mediocre event, man.
Right, Jamaica and the US are the two winningest team at the World Relays. So when you have the two, pretty much when you go to the World Relays, you're looking at United States versus Jamaica. That's pretty much what it is. People say, and John, you know what? The J3A is an official body, maybe one of the most professional body. There is a little bit of corruption here and there. Everybody knows that in every federation, but for most part, J3A have been doing a good job as it relates to athletics, and they're smart enough to know that even though it might be a combination of all three things that we name, which is financial challenges, and we talk about routing, and we talk about also safety issues. They might not say it because you don't want to do something that is going to take away from Poland. So you don't want to really mention the number of cases as it relates to, as a body, J3 as a part. World Athletics. You don't want to mention that.
Yeah, but
because remember, we're a part of World Athletics, and so we have to try and be professional about it. As we can talk about it because this is a talk show, but J3 as a body of World Athletics don't want to do that.
But I can say to you, and I'm sure people would agree with me, that in these times, you wouldn't be seen as being remiss if you spoke about concerns about COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Olympics was postponed because of that. Several events were cancelled because of that reality. So if you say that you have concerns about traveling, I don't think that could be a blot on your name as an organization.
No, I'm not talking about that. They clearly stated that the existing travel restriction and routing possibilities, that the challenges that they were facing from that, they clearly stated that it was due to the coronavirus, and we all know that. I'm talking about the part which would talk about the fact that say, well, it's because of the epidemic, the huge increase in the number of cases in Poland. You know what I mean? Because like I said, as a body which is a part of rural athletics, we don't want to do anything that's going to
Yeah,
cause.
but I am still saying, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I am still saying it wouldn't be out of place if you were to be, if you got wind of a situation in any country for that matter, and say, hey, there has been an increase in cases and thing in India or China or wherever, so our cricketers won't go to India because of that. I don't think you would be blasted because of that. I mean, out of what's it diplomacy, you probably will not say it if it's not the immediate thing on your mind. But I don't think it should be a problem for you to say so at all. This is the season for that.
Right. No, the problem that we're concerned with in Jamaica, I don't know if you saw that in any article. Remember last week we mentioned that Jamaica, the 4x100 men's team, haven't yet qualified for the Olympics. They haven't reached the qualifying standard, and they were hoping to do so at the World Relays, even though it wasn't with the best athletes that we have, the best male sprinters that we have, but they were hoping to do so at least. So we have to hope now that they're gonna have, and guess what happened? You know, there will be no Jamaica International Invitational this year. You know,
right?
Remember that is also sanctioned by Rural Athletics, so you can also
that's a major meet.
You can qualify, but there will be none this year. And remember, they haven't had any since 2018. But plans were in place for resumption this year, and it was announced by the organizers that there will be none due to logistic reasons.
Right.
So that's another issue. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but there are going to be two major meets in the US this weekend. We have the USA Track and Field Grand Prix at Oregon Relays. And then we also have Drake Relay, which is going to be earlier on Saturday. You know, it's supposed to be from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and the Grand Prix is supposed to be from 5 to 7 p.m. And a number of Jamaicans are missing from this again because of the same situation. So Jamaicans are really getting a raw deal as it relates to the preparation for the Olympics. So I wonder, when I see this cancellation of the World Relays, I'm thinking to myself, I hope this is not a precursor to the Olympics. You know, because who knows? I would not be surprised. But we want to hope it doesn't happen that way. So the only Jamaican that I know about that was listed, of course, you know, they're going to list only the main athletes that will be performing at the Grand Prix is 19-year-old Brianna Williams. Of course, we all know that that's maybe one of our main young prospects coming up. So she will be participating in the 100 meters. But a number of great athletes will be performing. We have people like Krauser, who is the Olympic gold medalist for the shot put. We have Sandy Morris, who is silver medalist for pole vault, and we have Kenny Harrison, which is of course we know the world record holder in the 100-meter hurdles. And I know that Shawnee Miller Weaver is supposed to be also Uber is supposed to be performing in the 400 meters. Even though she's going to be running the 200 meters at the Olympics, she's going to be performing in the 400 meters. So there is something to watch over the weekend. But I still haven't seen a lot of big names as it relates to Jamaican athletes. You're seeing the likes of people like Alison Felix also, who will be running, Noel Lyles, and all of those people will be running on Saturday. So you would have hoped that Jamaica would be able to be here to enjoy some of those real good competition as preparation for the Olympics, but that's the way it is. So I tell you, this week was a bunch as it relates to sports, I tell you the truth. So we can now move on to what was the biggest news on Sunday.
Yeah.
What was
What's
it?
that? Tell me, like, I can't hear you.
Huh?
Tell me, no, I can't hear you. Yeah,
So
that's big. It's a
we
big thing.
we all know about by now everybody should know about the Super League, which was
Yeah.
supposed to be a breakaway from the traditional UEFA league, and it was supposed to be 12 teams that were part of this Super League.
So why do you think
And
they wanted to? Why do you think they wanted to have this separate Super League, though?
well, you know,
It reminds me of 2020 cricket. But anyway, let me hear what you have to say about it.
you know, it's a lot of issues, and it's a lot of the bottom line is, let me tell you what it was all about. It's about money. It was about money, period. And I'm going to explain that in detail. So here's what happened. Um, Spain, like we mentioned on this program before, that Spain was having a lot of problem as it relates to finance. And we made special mention of Barcelona, and we even said that there were some in Spain or in Barcelona that were saying that, you know, that Messi is a traitor because most of the money that they're now short of went to Messi, you know, in that huge contract that Messi got. So there were some who was saying that because he was planning on leaving, many were saying that he was going to go to PSG or even to Manchester City. And other teams were also named, and they were calling him a traitor as a result of that, because they believe that the reason why Barcelona is having financial issues was because of the amount of money that was paid to Messi, of which a huge sum is still owing to him. And so it had been a problem way before that. And the chief person, as a matter of fact, the person who was supposed to lead this 12 team, this 12 breakaway team, was a person from Barcelona who I think he's the chairman for Barcelona right now football club. So he was supposed to be the leading person. So it's a money issue. But one of the big things that is taking place in the world of sports right now is the fact that they're trying to look for different avenues, and they're not taking into consideration the spectators. You know, they're doing whatever is good for the bookmaker, because gambling is becoming a big part of sports, a huge part of sports right now. You know, there, as it relates to what we're talking about right now, there are many who believe that it was all about money, because, you know, investment bankers or people with investment banking experience was involved in this, you know.
So
And
the idea was just to what? To cream off a top 12 teams, let them play among themselves, and whatever is made is split between the 12 organizations, or what? I
yeah,
noticed though that a lot of the British teams who have American linkages, should I say, that they were in the forefront of this as well.
yeah, it had 16 from England
No,
that
but
was a
I'm saying
part,
more specifically
including,
that the ones that had the American link in terms of ownership or management or whatever.
yes, yes.
Right. And so it's like, it's a kind of American thing, kind of,
Yeah,
there.
because you believe it or not, hear this though. You know that JP what's that, Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase, they were involved in this also. They were gonna loan to these team over 6 billion, $6 billion to these 12 teams. Now, here is the structure that was supposed to be formed with these 12 teams. All right. It was supposed to be 6 teams from, I know there were 6 teams from England, and I think there were 3 from Italy, I think, and I know there were 2 from, I think there were 2 from Spain, or 3 from Spain. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
right.
3 from Spain. But however, what you will notice right there is you will notice that PSG was not a part of it, right? And see, So what came about, in my opinion, what came about is that PSG is heavily financed because PSG is financed by actually by the state of Qatar through the leader. All right, but and so it's one of the richest clubs. But also remember that the World Cup is supposed to be held in Qatar, right? And next year, and so they didn't want to be a part of this because it was going to be a lot of confusion and maybe affect their revenue that they're expecting and so forth. So they didn't want to be a part of it. But I don't think there was any other other French team that was a part of it either. You know what I'm saying? So what was going to happen is that these founder teams, these 12 founder teams, were going to be financed, like I said, by Chase Bank with that $6 billion. And what they were going to do, they were hoping to move that number up to 15, right? And then later on up to 20 teams. But here's what happened. That kind of make for real good competition, right? Because you have the top teams in Europe.
Well, this is what some people are saying, that it would have been better for the players, like the top guys playing against top guys and so on. So that's one of the arguments that was put forward, but you can't help.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was saying that you can't help but realizing that this was really an attempt to almost to dominate football, just to control football at the top level. Football, to control that is an attempt to do so, which is why the public and a lot of people from the public came out against it. And there were protests. Right. In some countries. they were on the street marching saying, no way.
You're talking about that, So I'll continue what I was talking about. But you're talking about that. I'm going to tell you what happened. So that was the plan then. The plan was these 12 founder teams, then they were going to increase it to 15, and the plan was to get it up to 20. No, remember that what would happen is that it would make for outstanding competition, real tough competition. But the problem is there would be nothing to work for, or there is no merit as far as this would be concerned. Because even team like Liverpool, who was a part of it, and Arsenal, who was a part of it, and Tottenham Hotspur, who was a part of it, who are not doing so well this year, there would be a permanent fixture, no matter how bad they're playing. You understand what I'm saying? There will be a permanent fixture. So when you become a founder member up to that 20 member that they were expecting, you cannot be relegated, right? So there is nothing to work towards.
There's a competition among the top. What is perceived is at the top team.
Exactly. Regardless. So then there is no merit to work towards. So it would be great for competition, high level competition, but the other part of it now. And when you look at it, your English football, I'm mentioning English football, and I could say UEFA football is well structured. It's one of the most, there's no other structure that you should look at when you're going to try to do, to start playing football or, for American soccer, right? Well structured. They brought about this relegation structure whereby teams have to try to play well in order to be in the Premier League. And teams have to play well in order to retain their spot in the Premier League. So there is merit to be had, right? But in that situation, there will be none. So it was all about money. And they're not telling you, they're not talking about it that way. But when you think about it, we talk about Usain Bolt before, for example, about him being invited to the Middle East to discuss possibilities of revenue in sports and so forth. And this is one thing, it is becoming a bookmaker's issue. So it's more so, bookmakers is going to generate more funds, of course. There are some in America who believe that, even looking at other sports in America, that in a few years, they're going to gain more from gambling than from TV rights and advertisement. Right? They're going to gain more from gambling. So I think they were going in that direction. However, they didn't think about the power of the consumer or the power of the supporters. I mentioned consumer for real because that's what they are. They're consumers. They're the ones who pay their money and they're the ones who have been supporting these teams over the years. So what teams started doing, you find that during this process, John, a lot of executives that were part of UEFA, they resigned their positions, right? And some of them resigned their position because they were instrumental in the whole process. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
like this guy um, from Manchester United. Later on, I'll tell you what his name is. I don't remember what his name is right now. Who was, the person who was responsible for daily operation at Manchester United? He was with the Glazer family. He was with them. They're the ones who actually own Manchester United, and he was an investment banker at Chase, right? So you start seeing the link. So it's all about a money venture. They're trying to take over. They were trying to take over so
But
that they could get the attention of bookmakers, international
right,
bookmakers.
gotcha. But bear in mind also that the past year has been quite a trying year for football, particularly the ones in Spain and all the top league teams. They have lost billions of dollars of revenue because of the COVID-19 issues. So there's some argument that this was also one of the reasons why they're trying to, recapture some money, to regain money, to, get money, to recoup money by doing something, drastic as this Super League.
Yeah,
But the other issue is that there was also talk about expanding the Champions League to include more teams,
yes.
and then there's a fear now among the top teams that, this will just, this expansion could mean less revenue coming into us. Hence, again, they drive towards to establish this elitist Super League, so that just we top guys can play in it and make whatever money we make is ours, kind of thing. So a lot of argument going around. The big question is, should there be a Super League or should not be? Should there not be a Super League? Where are you? Are you supportive of a Super League?
Well,
Or are you not
I will.
supportive of a Super League?
Let me answer that question after I say this. You're right because, like I said, his name is Florentino Perez, who
Yeah,
is the Real Madrid president, and
right,
he's saying that the reason why they're forming this was that the clubs were struggling financially amidst the COVID virus. That
right.
was the reason for this. But like I said, for those of us who I'm not working for any of these big clubs, but I follow football and I watch what's going on in the world of sport. I know what's going on in the world of sport. I expected this,
Mhm.
right? I expected this. Maybe not this early, but I expected this. Sports has gone to a different direction. It has gone in a different direction. It's more about what can be made from the sports. John, remember I said this when Usain Bolt was invited to the Middle East. I said they're trying to find ways to establish sport as a huge revenue earner, bigger than what it is right now. And when in a society like what we live in, and that exists around the world, they're always going to be looking for ways of making money. And in some cases, it's not going to be in the interest of the public, right? It's going to be in the interest of the people who can load their pockets with money, right? That's what the Super League was all about. Is for the people on top, all of these people on top. See how many of them are resigning because they know what was going to be earned from it. Mark you, they weren't expecting. I think the figure for revenue from football is somewhere in about $12 billion per year. Mark you, they weren't expecting to earn 12 billion from television rights and advertisement, like what the UEFA League and so forth is doing. But what they know is that they would have gotten a lot from um, bookmakers, from
Yeah,
gamblers.
yeah, yeah.
Not
And
only
I
from
agree. I
gamblers,
agree. I agree that money was at
but
the heart of it.
they could make up the difference through what's the word I'm looking for right now? Through what is it called again?
Rights, TV rights, and these things.
No, not so much TV right. I'm talking about from the stock market. What are they called again? I have a brain feast today again. We related to it. But anyway, they were going to make it up from that way. It was all about that. You know, bear in mind that this was going to be challenged heavily, right? It was going to be challenged heavily by FIFA, right? And UEFA League. You know, it wasn't, I know it was going to be a big issue because remember, FIFA was saying and the UEFA League was saying, if you go and play in the Super League, you can no longer play at the World Cup and you can no longer play for your national team, right?
That is what scared a lot of them.
Right. You find out that what was happening, just like you said, the UEFA was supposed to have a meeting sometime this week. I can't remember exactly what day it was. As a matter of fact, I'm quite certain the meeting was held already. And they knew about it. The people who were the breakaway into the Super League, they knew about this meeting and they knew what the meeting was going to be all about because UEFA was trying to find ways of making additional monies. And they believe that, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to increase it to what is it now, 39 teams, is it? I can't remember the number. Yeah. However, no, you know, the players are going to play more. All right. So there are some who are saying, well, okay, now you increase it and instead of you're going to have 10 games instead of, I think they had 6 games before, now you're going to have 10 games, whatever the case might be. And so it's more that the players are going to go through. But you got to remember, additional money have to come in from somewhere because they did not get a lot of revenue from gate receipts and so forth because of the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? So it was going to be a big issue anyway. So however, right now, it actually crashed like dominoes because
I don't, but mind you, know, it might crash now, but I can bet you bottom dollar that it will resurface later on. I think it was poorly thought out. I think it was done in a kind of rush, you know, like a rush and a crush, but it was poorly thought. They didn't give it a lot of thought, and this is why people are apologizing now and backing out, and they realize that it's crashing, as you rightly say, like dominoes. But
yeah.
mind you,
there are many.
It's going to come back again. It's going to come back again. This is not the first time these things they have spoken about it, you know. Remember, you know, because this is not the first time this Super League thing, the argument for it has come up. It has come up before. So it's going to come again, but they're going to come a little bit different this time. One thing, though, is for sure, the players themselves, they realize how much power they have. And this is why they want to kind of wield the power, you know. They realize how much power a Messi or you know the guys, they have a lot of power. They have power, and they were trying to harness this power. And, you know, for their own benefit, for their own financial gains. But that has crashed, as you say, for now.
Yeah, I'm sure these guys put some thought into it because...
But not enough.
You got to think about it. As a result of the coronavirus, you know, they got to be thinking right now themselves, you know, is it that, are these clubs going to be able to finance us? You know, are we going to be able to get the kind of contracts that we got before?
Yeah, but there would be idiots to be even thinking that way.
Right.
Idiots. If they be thinking that way, they'd be idiots.
Yeah, but you know they're thinking that way because remember the clubs are coming out, like Perez, for example, but we know that Real Madrid and Barcelona, all these clubs in Spain have been having financial problems for a while. But they said that the coronavirus, you know, had put a huge dent in finances and so forth. So sure. as a player, John, they have to think about that because is it that these clubs are going to come to you and ask you to take a cut to restructure the contract?
Right. Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. So they have to think in that way. So they're looking at ways to sort of preserve, you know, what they're getting. They're not trying to say, well, okay, what is this going to do to the history and the legacy of UEFA football? Because remember now, all of these records and everything that you know about that is so beautiful in the record books, they would all be gone, right? over what? Over how many years the UEFA League been in, over 70 something years? All of these things would be gone. If the Super League came about and put any pressure on UEFA League, and the UEFA League is no longer in existence. So it's a lot of stuff. So you have a lot of past players and supporters who came out. I think Keegan and one of those guys came out and he labeled the guys who own Manchester United. He labeled them as some of the worst traitors in the world, called them all kind of names because people are upset. And people at Chelsea were blocking the gates and so forth. At Manchester United, blocking gates, Manchester City, it was total chaos all around the world.
Yeah, man. People are upset.
Especially in England. So right now, as far as I know, because it's so confusing right now that I know there are 9 teams that withdrew so far. And some people are saying, there is some report that said that Juventus withdrew yesterday, but there are reports today that saying that Juventus and Barcelona and Real Madrid is still in. But there are 19, so pretty much the whole thing is gonna collapse. It's not going to. So it started on Sunday and it ended by midday on or ended by the evening on Wednesday. And so far that's all you've been hearing, that there is no life in it because the football in Europe, the backbone of football in Europe is definitely England. The Premier League. So when you have the Premier League, I think they were the first to withdraw from the breakaway group, and then many follow afterwards. So
but they apologized.
Right, and they apologize too. But that's to show you for the fans. And so just you say it might come back. If it's going to come back next time, they better be smarter than that and make sure that whatever they're going to do is in the interest of the fans also, because those fans in England especially, they don't play when it comes to their football.
I want to share this with you. Having spoken about that Super League proposal, that a similar proposal was actually made right here in Jamaica to do with schoolboy football.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a couple of the top coaches mentioned that it probably would have been worth our while to have a competition for the top schoolboy football teams. Reason being, because when you have, for instance, a Rossi playing some whatever secondary high school and giving them 10 love, 12 love, they were saying that is not good for development in terms of, let the top, have a system where the top teams can play among themselves. So it would be a Rossi versus a Cornell College, a JC versus a KC, a Calabar versus, and so the top teams would mingle among themselves in a Super League, is what they were saying. That has been proposed, but not taken on at all. And the critics were saying that, hey, this would have been better for the development of the top players. And I think I want to believe that. Because, if you play against good players rather than a mediocre player, you are more inclined to perform at your optimum, So that has been going on here, So very interesting. Very, very interesting.
No matter what you do, there has to be always continuous improvement in whatever you're doing. Anything that you're doing and then you don't do research and development, you're not going to get very far in it. And so that's what we face. I'm going to touch on this and say that's what we face in our government in Jamaica in most cases, because we don't do that. We just pass the baton.
Government do.
We just pass the baton.
Or the organizations,
Right.
Government or should be the organizations, because the sport is run by various organizations,
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but I was just saying that the government is a perfect example. It seems as if we have brilliant people in Jamaica. And we saw that when we went on to the summit the other day with Kiwanis Club. Brilliant people in Jamaica. We all know that. And you want to tell me that we have to sit down and become, almost obsolete in sport, in certain sports in Jamaica. You got to keep on doing research and development.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
for anything that they can put in place that's gonna help the sports to develop and to go in the right direction. And right now, I'm not quite sure if the system that they're using right now is not outdated. I don't have enough facts to say it's outdated, but
What
I would
system are you
definitely
talking
be
about?
looking at
What
that area.
system are you talking about?
The system of the DaCosta Cup and so forth that you just mentioned,
Oh,
the structure. To change that structure, I'm not quite sure if I wouldn't agree if I have enough information. Right now, I don't have enough information to tell you if I would be for or against such a move, and I don't know the details of what they see why they would want to change
well,
things.
I just told you that there are some teams that are so much better
Right.
than other teams. The last Manning Cup, for instance, you had judges are them giving some teams 10 love, 8 love, 6 love, 7, you know, in the preliminary stages. And the point is that that is not good. That is don't make sense. This is what some top courses are saying. And it don't make sense.
But they have to be
Why
careful.
why go to a match to watch 12 love?
They have to be careful though, because remember that there are traditional high schools in Jamaica and there are non-traditional high schools in Jamaica.
Right.
Remember that the traditional high schools, they're going to have financial support from their old student.
Well,
The
that's it.
non-traditional high
That's it.
schools, they're
That's
not
it.
going to have support from their old student. So you want to tell me you're going to penalize them for that, and
No,
you're
it's
the
not penalized. What they're saying is it's not penalized. No, not to
no, no,
penalize.
the point I'm
What
trying
they're
to make.
saying, go ahead.
The point I'm trying to make is it would be like penalizing them because right now you have what would be considered to be an unequal distribution of funds, not from the government, but from other sources because they don't have all students, they don't have alumni, they might have an alumni association that
Well,
might
then,
be 5 years
uh,
old or
okay.
6 years old. So it would not be fair to them because how do you know that the lack of performance is not caused by lack of financial resources?
All right, well, in that case, two things. In that case, play in a league with teams of similar ilk,
Okay.
teams of a similar status. When you can ascend from that, then you
Mhm.
can join the leagues with Rossies and Casey and Calabar.
I got
You
you.
know?
Maybe
So
that would work. Maybe that would work. That's
and,
what I'm
and,
saying.
and mind you, every high school to date in Jamaica would have had a trail of students, past students. So maybe this time up for the past students, if you want your team to be really, you know, pump some money in the school then, as is the case with the Rossies and the KCs and the JCs and the C bars. This is what they do. All students pump money in the school. The school has facilities. They can support their football team. They play well. So maybe that's, and mind you, the bottom line is talent development.
Right.
Talent development. So if that is the key, then you know,
Well,
talent.
see, what they have to do, like I said, and if they want to, I'll join them if they want to. They have to sit down and do some real good thinking, and they have to think about pros and cons. They have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
think
Well,
about
just the argument,
but
just the argument, just the
don't get me
argument.
wrong. What you said right ago is very important because we talk about merit. When we're talking about the Super League, we talk about merit. Talk about that it would be great competition. The Super League would be extremely high competition, but there is no merit. So even a team like Arsenal and Liverpool. So when you look back at the high school now, it's the same thing. If you establish a system like that, that might help to raise the level of performance because there is something for them to work at. Not just entering the Costa Cup every year and
Right.
they get
But you want to go to the
now
top
they
league
know that they have to elevate
of
their game because it's not
country. Yes.
automatic that you're going to be a part of it.
Uh,
So it's
uh,
going to be taken
nice,
into
nice and
consideration.
speak, nice
You
and speak,
really need
nice and
people
speak.
who can come up with creative ideas. The sports in Jamaica, that's what, like I said, we've been talking about it on this little show of ours, John, that no matter what you do, you have to make sports a business in order to start elevating sport. And you have to see it that way. Believe it or not, we're saying, well, how come you know that people don't see it as a business? We know that. You can see psychologically, it's still in our mind that sports is extracurricular activity in most cases. That's not what it is. Sports is preparation, just like physics, chemistry, maths, Spanish, biology. It's preparation. It's preparation of oneself for a possible career, right? Until
I think we are slowly realizing that.
right, until we realize that we're going to have the same problem that we see occurring right now. You see what I'm saying?
We're slowly getting, I think we realize it to a point, but we're not doing enough to express that we realize that we want to do something
Right.
about, you know? So
You had asked me a question about Super League or no Super League. I would say no Super League. You know, I'm a very democratic person. I believe in spectators first. But mark you, the players might think different from me because most of their money doesn't come from the spectators, right? So, like I said, but when you're doing something, you know, you got to remember, and that's why a little brain like mine, I can't understand how the Super League just came about just like that, and people didn't think about the repercussions and so forth, because they forget, maybe it's because of the pandemic era, they weren't thinking, because fans are not in the stand, so they forgot about the fans, because I knew it was going to be trouble, you know, because I said it from earlier on. I said, I think I talked to you about it, and I said the fans are not being taken into consideration when we text back and forth about it. I said the fans are not being taken into consideration, and then that's the thing that blew up in their face. It's not the government that changed this of the various countries. The fans are the one that changed this, right? So that show you that no matter what you do, when you think about money, you have to think about your consumers too. When you're investing, you got to think about who are going to patronize what you're doing, right? And you can't lock them out. There were indicators that they were thinking about the fan. One indicator is that these were supposed to be what? Midweek games. Midweek games. So it tells you that that's one indicator to tell you it wasn't so much about accommodating fans and the public. It was more so about accommodating bookmakers. It was about, because that's where sports is going. No, don't kid yourself. That's the direction that sports is going into. I didn't just make this up. You know, this came from sources that said that currently, or in a few years, gambling is going to be making more money for sports than TV rights and advertisement, right? So then you know that's the direction sports is going in. But how can you protect the integrity of sports when money is involved in it so big? You know, remember, you know, we have to talk about cricket, because remember I gave you a spin-off on cricket. We talk about the fact that you know, back in 2020 December, you know, it was a very difficult period. And what did Amazon do? Amazon, everybody know about Amazon, where Amazon started. And everybody know that Amazon get involved in what? In streaming, right? In streaming movies, right? And what Amazon did is Amazon went to India and got streaming right for what? For cricket in India back in December, right? They got the streaming right for cricket in India. Not only did they get the streaming right for cricket in India, but what they did is they also got the streaming right for streaming not Pakistani, but New Zealand cricket to India also, right? So, of course, you know what happened. Many international bookmakers are extremely happy about this. So look at cricket. You know, look at cricket. That many think that, oh, cricket might be dying in certain places. In India, cricket is a booming industry. You know, because billions of people in India, they watch cricket. And you know that when it comes to, it remains the Indian League, we talked about it last week, remains the top league in the world in sport as it relates to cricket, worldwide. Remember we talked about Holder playing in India last week, and we said that it's one of the top league in the world. Well, it is the top league in the world as it relates to cricket. You know, so that's the direction that sports is going in. And if you notice, anything that Amazon get involved in nowadays, anytime you see Amazon get involved in a market, there's going to be something big. And they already got involved in the streaming in India. So they're trying to make this bigger than what it is. Later on, they're going to be benefiting from these international bookmakers that are now extremely happy for the growing market of cricket in India. So that's the direction it's going in as it relates to sports. So that's where all of what we're seeing in football for the American audience, what we're seeing in soccer, that's what's going on. But what's good about this, John? There are talks now in certain sectors in America that there are certain sports bodies that are looking to similar model to the relegation that is in England for basketball, for football, and so forth. They're looking to something similar to that. So maybe it might not be a bad thing for high school in Jamaica to start doing something like that, like you said that. Maybe that might help to because now you gotta earn something, not just put into the Costa Cup and say, here go the 16 teams, or here go the 8 teams in zone A or zone B, whatever the case might be. But you have to work to get into what? Into the premier teams. You have to be a part of the premier group. So maybe that's a great idea, and that shouldn't be the only thing to come up with a decision like that. But of course, that is one thing that they should look at, and it's a strong point for something like that. It's a very strong point for something like that, because if you can't accept it as a strong point, then why don't you tell me about something that we can do to change that, what we're seeing, whereby some teams are not a good matchup. They bring their A1 team and we're playing with a second 11, which they still end up getting 8 love and so forth. You know what I mean? So these are things that as we go along in sports, you're going to see sports transform into something that we should be preparing for. And if you're following sports and you really love sports, you'll see that these things are going to happen, no matter what. Like I said, the players is concerned about their interests too. So they're going to be leaning towards what is good for them. If you notice that there was one player that I saw, I've read, that objected to the Super League until the spectators start voicing their opinion that this is not about us, and this is not about for the public good. It's for the pocket of those guys who are above you guys, and they start seeing it themselves and say, what happened? These people are the ones who were putting money into our pockets along. They started coming to the games and make TV rights and advertisement become popular, which help to pay your salary. So therefore means that we need to listen to them, and they, of course, they have their voices, and the voices were, of course, heard. And a lot of people, past players, came out, like I said before, and voiced their opinion too. But that we live in a world where capitalism rules, and so you, just like you said before, you can expect that you're going to hear more about this. You can expect to hear more about it.
Yeah, well, nicely stated. But I know the time is running on us, but I just want to mention a little thing here. Several programs ago, we mentioned about screening of athletes and pre-season examinations and so on.
Okay.
Well, there was news in our country recently that a guy by the name of Tremaine Stewart, he played for Dunbeholden, that team.
Yes.
And he died. He died suddenly, just a few days ago. He was playing a little game, a Sunday game, and he just collapsed, and he died suddenly. Fit man, apparently fit person, ding, 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 and he collapsed and died. So again, the sports medicine doctors have come out and again trying to underscore the
importance of,
yes, man, the reason why athletes need to be screened prior to high level competition. And he played for Dunbeholden. I don't know if he played for Jamaica. Did he? He may have played for Jamaica too, or get called for Jamaica. But certainly Dunbeholden is his top player. I also want to mention that I don't know if you know him, but he was a past Olympian by the name of Dennis Johnson.
Yes.
DJ. And just a little bit of history on him. He actually equaled the world record 9.30 seconds in the 100 meter some years ago, in 1960 something. I don't remember the exact.
In 100 yards, I mean.
Yeah, well, they said 100 meters. 9.30. But he's in the university hospital now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's actually ill. COVID-19 again.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes, I know him quite well, but actually he's regarded as one of the persons who kind of turned around the prospects of Jamaica in terms of sprinting, and and he was a prominent coach as well. So we wish him all the best.
Yeah, we need all of these guys for as it relates to track and field in Jamaica. I'm extremely concerned and worried about the track and field, because we know what national championship does for boys and girls in Jamaica. We know that it's not just our God-given sprinting ability, but it's also the fact that when these athletes are developed properly by our talented coaches that we have in Jamaica, is that we're ready for the world. We're ready for the world. Everything is important. And, again, we talk about this before, and we're going to go back to discussing a lot of those things. Like you mentioned before, we talk about the preseason screening, the health screening, and how important it is, and see what's happening. One dying is one too many, but so we need to go back to some of the things that we used to do, but we know that we had to deal with this cross talk today because there was so much going on. And the crosstalk that we have done for the past couple of weeks is very important. It's actually deliberate. I didn't even search for a guest for this week because I know we need to discuss these things among ourselves sometime. But then what I was trying to say is that when you think about the mental aspect of our sport as it relates to track and field, you go to the national stadium and you look at that 13-year-old running a 4x1 relay, and you have to almost stop and put your hand under your chin and clasp your head between your hands. Sometimes say, I can't believe that those kids just did that. The exchange of the baton is flawless.
Yeah.
And they take that from that level and they take it up to class 3. We're talking about girls now, from class 4 to class 3. And you see some improvement. And they take it up to class 2 and you see more improvement. You take it up to class 1, and these class 1 athletes now start looking like what? They start looking like the pros. And we take it up to the Olympic, and we have a track record of not dropping the baton. You know what I mean? Jamaica as a country, or the team, maybe along with countries like Japan, are the top teams when it comes to exchanges, when it comes to baton. We're known for that. While a country like the US, with all of the resources that they have and all of the coaches that they have, who on a frequent basis, they drop the baton at the Olympics and at the World Championship. So all of these things are important. We might not pay much attention to it, but the progression and the development of our athletes, and the stadium crowd, how much a stadium can hold? Over 18,000 people,
Or national stadium?
Yeah.
No man, 35, almost 40.
I'm way below. But I'm just thinking about it, even if it was 18,000, but think about the benefit to our athletes at that young age, from primary school and all the way up until to class 4 girls and class 3 boys, all the way up to class 1. You're sitting in front of 30-something thousand people on Saturday, right? Cheering you on if you make it to the finals. And if you don't make it to the finals, you're still there and you're still getting some benefit, because like we say again, here you are, want to achieve making it to the finals next year, because you see the glorification that's coming from the crowd with these athletes who make it to the final or make it to the final day. So, there is much to be had as it relates to the competition, not only from the fact that physical development, but also mental development. Psychologically, it's a benefit. And so, we hope that this whole thing is going to subside and we're going to be able to get back to what we love to do and what we love to watch. But we know we don't have any control over it. So we just got to deal with it and try to find the best way to compensate for the loss that we have occurred.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. Let's say, I think this past year has hit us really badly. But we know we are Jamaicans, and I suspect that we will certainly be revived and regain our prominence in terms of in all sport. Soon close, but again, there's just word on the streets, about Jamaica's prospects for qualifying for the World Cup in football, and people are saying we stand such a great chance given the cadre of talent that we have at our disposal.
Yes.
But it might well be a situation where can we make it, or because of the train issues and what's happening,
Everything is going to be impacted again. It's going to be the traveling again. And you know that England is trying right now. They have done this. They have a history of doing this. They're pursuing some of the guys not to sign with Jamaica, what they have a track record of doing is that they'll persuade these guys not to do it, and then after 2 years they dump them. But I heard that FIFA came up with some rule now that you can still play for a country if they dump you within that 2-year period. You can still play for another country. So hopefully they might be forced to keep some of these guys, because I didn't know about it, but I was doing some research, and they said that I think 3 of the top players that from England that was supposed to be that Jamaica were in talks with, they have changed their mind and said that they're going to stay, they're going to represent England because England actually convinced them to. And but their writers were saying that England they have done this before and have left them on the wayside 2 years later.
So maybe that's like a trick thing then. Maybe they said they want to play for Jamaica to kind of get the England guys jumpy. Say what? And then now
they're known for that.
They said, no, I'm going to Jamaica. Stay. Your prospects of playing for England. Prospects are great, man.
This is England, we're supposed to be. We're under British rule, and they treat us like a stepchild, don't they? Because remember, county cricket is the same way county cricket was. They didn't want more than a certain amount of West Indian to play in England either. So they find a way to suppress whatever we're trying to do, no matter what. So, it's up to the players to be smart and do their homework and commit to Jamaica if they want to commit to Jamaica. Because the Jamaican-born players, they have a lot to say about these guys. They really believe in these guys. They said that these guys come and play. I mean, I was listening to an interview with Kamar Lawrence, and he was saying that these guys play very hard and they train hard. They do believe in representing Jamaica when they come and say they're going to represent Jamaica. It's not like they use this stardom. They use this stardom and say, I'm not going to work hard. They work hard, so hopefully that might be the only 3 that they're able to change their minds, and the rest of them, because when people have that Jamaican blood inside of them, it's kind of hard to convince them, even if they're born in England, because we can treat them with some jerk chicken too, and some fried dumplings and butter and cheese, right? So hopefully that's it. And is there any question from?
A little last note. We had mentioned last program that Jamaica basketball now, they were playing in that Caribbean League,
right?
And it's a pre-qualifying league for the World Cup of basketball. Would have been next year. Well, they lost in the semifinal to El Salvador
by
week.
2 points.
Yeah, so just by 2 points. So, but I have to still applaud them, because I think they weren't, again, not fully prepared because of the issues going on. They pulled the team together, good set of youth, but you still gotta play. And to lose by 2 points to the home team I think is quite
Let me
commendable.
ask you a question. Do you think that the crowd had anything to do with it? We talk about the psychology of
Was
the
there a
crowd.
crowd? Was there a crowd though?
Yeah, there was a crowd, and they mentioned the crowd was raucous also. They mentioned that.
That's I didn't realize that it was a. I thought it was a no crowd thing.
Yeah, there was a crowd, and they said,
They're all them South America, Central American types, and so they're awful when they come out to support in their
oh yeah, and then remember that our basketball team is not exposed, as far as I know. The national arena, are they exposed to a huge crowd at the arena? Or
They're
do
not,
you know?
but that's what I'm saying to you. They don't train. They're not been
Okay,
training together as a team. They've not
right.
had any practice matches as a team. So they have done exceptionally well to have come to the semi-final.
Yeah, and crowd does have an impact, a positive impact on
That's
basketball.
a given,
Crowd
man.
is very important when it comes to basketball. You know what I mean?
Any sport at all, man. Any
The-
sport at
yeah,
all.
but especially the NBA players will tell you they talk about it more than any other sport. They want a crowd back because it's so important. It's a showmanship game. Remember, basketball is a showmanship game, so you need a
It is.
crowd.
That is the nature. That is the nature of sport.
Yes, sir.
All right. On a final note, we had got a little word from Troy. Troy is saying the Super League was in a pre-planning stage for more than 2 years now, which is what I was saying.
Yes.
This is not something new. They were
Right.
planning, they were thinking on for the longest while, but it's still flop. It's still flop. Anyway, closing notes from you.
Well, again, we want to say thanks to those of you who have been subscribing to the Brosis YouTube channel. We want to ask you to continue your subscription. And for
Very
the
good.
KCJC Sports Talk, I want to encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to this program also. And once again, John, I want to say thanks to those who have been in the audience with us. And we'll see you guys next week. Drop the mic.
Yep. Peace and love.